The topic for today is self-awareness because I really believe that self-awareness is one of the most essential, I would say skills, but one of the most essential things for becoming successful, not just in business, but also in life in general. I do believe that this is a skill that you can develop. And I do believe that it's also something that if you don't develop it, it could be the reason why you not only do not build the business that you really want to build, but it could keep you from creating the life that you really want to create for yourself, because you will continue to put other people's expectations of you and other people's opinions of you before yourself. And especially in the beginning of you building your business, it's an extreme danger zone. And yes, it matters as you go too. But what I see often is that it's usually the reason why people don't start businesses. And it's usually the reason why their businesses do not reach at least $250,000 a year within the first 1 or 2 years, and why they may fall back and give up on their business entirely. A lot of it has to do with lack of self-awareness. And we're going to go into that. The real secret to being a successful entrepreneur is self-awareness. And what is self-awareness? What are the signs that you have a high level of self-awareness? When you have a high level of self-awareness, number one, you know who you are and you know your place in the world. When you are self-aware, you know what you want to achieve with the time that you have. When you are self-aware, you know who to seek constructive feedback from, and you're able to accept constructive criticism, constructive feedback, and you're also able to reject that feedback or reject other people's advice that don't necessarily have your best interest in mind and don't necessarily want to go where you want to go, want to achieve what you want to achieve, have the same kind of values and direction as you. When you're self-aware, you know what you need to achieve those things, and you know what you need personally for you to perform at your best. When you are self-aware, you know what you can change and what is also outside of your control. And you try to put most of your energy into what you can control to move the needle to achieve what you want and to ultimately create the life that you want to live. So when you're self-aware, you will not let the opinions and expectations of other people cage you and really keep you from realizing your dreams or living the way that you want to live life. You also know when you need to say no to people and start setting boundaries, because in this journey of business, you definitely have a limited amount of time and energy, and you can't be giving that time and energy to people that are going to drain you and that are more aligned with who you were in the past or who you even are now than who you want to become, the direction that you want to go. This type of resistance to change, because it all starts with change, the self-awareness that like, hey, I'm not where I want to be in life. And I know that I need to do something different, go in a different direction to get a different outcome. And that gap between where you are now to where you want to be, that can only be identified if you're self-aware to a certain extent. So once you identify that gap and you start heading to point B, there's going to be resistance along the way. So for me, I'll give you an example, a tangible example. So I went from getting an ultimatum from my boss when my daughter was in the hospital in July of 2018 to deciding that I was going to replace my full-time income at the previous job, which was very, very little, with doing something from home. My first self-awareness was, number one, I'm not going to that job because I don't want to. I want to stay in the hospital with my daughter. I'm not going to fall for that ultimatum. Number two, I don't want to go back to another job because she's going to have to be separated from me the whole day, be in daycare, probably get sick again, so on and so forth. So I wanted a way to produce that same amount of income with my skill set remotely from home and for myself. So that was the first little thing. But even in that moment of change from point A to point B, there was a lot of resistance. I was told you need to get a secure job instead. And again, this is what we're told our whole life, is that job is security, and it's not. A lot of people now know that it's not, especially throughout the pandemic. So you need to get a secure job. And when I told people I'm going to use my writing skills that I was using in my job to make money for myself online, they're like, no, you just need to get another job. You could do that on the side. And remember, I have a young baby at the time. They thought it was reckless. So there was a resistance for me from the get-go. So it did not feel good, but I knew, I was self-aware enough to know, okay, I'm still going to do it anyway, because I know that that's what I really want and that I'll put in the work. I'll figure it out. I didn't know how to do it, but I'll put in the hours, I'll put in the activity, and then high probability that I'll at least get to my first win and that it will work out. Worst case scenario, it does not, and I just go get another job. The job's going to be there anyway. There's always jobs, but there's not always these little opportune moments in our lives to really make that shift. I had that self-awareness. And this is where it gets extremely dangerous. If I had not been self-aware enough to know that I was going to put in hours upon hours to figure out how to leverage my marketing skills to make money from home, if I hadn't had that self-awareness, that I knew that I was going to make it happen, or I was going to do everything in my power to make it happen, put in the hours, be on the laptop until 2 a.m. and things like that, I would have let these comments and these outside influences keep me from even trying. And think about the danger of that. Think about the danger of me sharing, hey, I'm going to go from a job to trying to make this happen by working for myself, and then hearing a lot of this negative feedback. And had I not been self-aware enough, I would have just been like, oh, actually, that does sound risky. Let me just go back to another job. This is where not being true to yourself becomes very dangerous for your life. So it could have kept me had I fallen for that feedback, had I listened to those comments and just accepted them as truth. I could have been kept from the life that I'm living now. I could have been kept from discovering what I really was capable of, which was far more than I ever even envisioned. My first goal was just to replace my full-time income at the time, which was like $500, $600 a week. That was like pennies. And that was just my first goal. I just wanted to do that with these freelance marketing skills online. I didn't even envision something further, and it has gone much, much, much further. But even that tiny little shift, I could have been kept from everything had I just let other people's opinions cage me where I was, and expectations keep me from discovering a higher version of myself, discovering what I was truly capable of with my skills. And I think that this is where it gets extremely dangerous, is that the reason why I'm so passionate about this topic and why I'm trying to make it as simple as possible is because I speak to people every single week that are caged by their lack of self-awareness and their lack of taking that risk. There are executives out there that are making $200,000 a year, even $300,000 a year, who do not leave the job that they absolutely hate, and who really think about nothing else than starting their own business, but they do not leave to start that business just because they're afraid of what their family or their friends might think, or just because they're afraid of the uncertainty and all of that. So it's just, that is for me a lack of self-awareness, because self-awareness to me isn't just realizing, oh, that's what I want. It's actually taking action to fulfill that. If not, then it's like just static instead of in motion. So I speak again to a lot of people. I spoke to an executive who is now an entrepreneur. So this person took the leap from a very high paying job. She was like a top marketer to becoming an entrepreneur. She got her business off the ground, everything. And she wants to build her personal brand on LinkedIn, but she's not done it. And she hasn't even started because she's afraid of what her ex-colleagues will think about her content. And so that fear is keeping her from marketing herself organically and keeping her from so much opportunity that she potentially sees on LinkedIn for her new business, for her business that is already getting traction, that she could probably set on fire with the right personal brand strategy on LinkedIn. And the only thing keeping her from that is what her ex-colleagues might think. And so my attempt to share this message with you today is really just, you have one life. I feel like it's more to just be aligned and to live authentically to whatever it is that you want to do, or whatever calling or purpose that you have. The goal should be to have a deep feeling that you're doing your best and that you're using the gifts that you have to make a positive impact in the world, or to move the needle in people's lives, or to just progress. That's why I love the word growth, because it's a process. It is not an event. And I really feel like if you're not growing, you're dying. And if you're not progressing towards becoming a higher version of yourself, then you're stagnant and you're going backwards. We all feel best when we are becoming better versions of ourselves. If we become just a little bit better, if we do what we're supposed to do every single day to move the needle, then that's when I feel the best. And that's when I see other people feel the best as well. The thing is that only you know if you're living the life that you really want to live. There's going to be a part of you that knows that you're not being true to yourself. And to live authentically, and people love to throw this word around, but to live authentically, it's kind of like an alignment of when what you think, what you say, and what you do all match. They're all aligned. And that's true authenticity and living a life authentically to yourself. When what you think does not match what you say and what you do, then there's going to be some internal conflict. And then when what you think and what you say does not match what you do, it's also going to affect other people, because you're not going to feel that conflict internally. Other people are going to see that you say one thing and you don't do it. Let's get into some signs of low self-awareness. You don't really know yourself, your place in the world. You don't know what you want to achieve, what you want to work towards. You don't know what you want to do, because other people's opinions and expectations of you sway you way too much. You're like a pendulum. One day you want to start a business, and then you have a family member, a friend that says, oh, that's a big risk. And then you swing back and you're like, oh, maybe I'll just stay in this job. And then that inner desire that you really want to achieve surfaces again. And you're like, oh, I want to start my business. Boom. I want to go all in. Then you have someone say, oh, but it's not the right time. And then you swing back. So that's the best metaphor I could give you, is that I see so many people being pendulums that are just swinging back and forth, and they have no idea where they want to even go, what they want to achieve, whether they should go all in or not in their businesses, just because they feel one thing, they think one thing, they really want to do it. And then it's like having anything that someone says swing them back, because they're just accepting feedback from people that have never even done these things. I want to give you some practical tips to become more self-aware and to at least go in the right direction. So the first thing is to ask yourself, what does your dream life look like on the day to day? Not overall, very general. If you had all the money in the world, what would you do from the time that you woke up in the morning to the time that you fell asleep at night? Just like one singular day. And I learned this from a Frank Kern video. This exercise is pretty awesome. Like, you want to be as specific as possible, because what I also see is that sometimes entrepreneurs, they start a business and what they really want is not what they're building. So they may really want and may really feel fulfilled and may really feel quote unquote happy if they were to just, let's say, make $200,000 a year. Maybe it's just them or a VA. Lifestyle business, they don't put in that many hours. Most of that is probably 65-70% profits. And it is what it is. Most of them would feel content with that type of business, but they have people around them, again, the pendulum, boom, that want to build huge enterprises, that want to get to $1 million a month, that want to build a team, that want to get to even $100 million exit. And they're trying to keep up with that or to match that. And that's not really what they want to do. That would lead to misery and disaster. And I see this all the time. I even see people who should be entrepreneurs, who would probably feel more at ease being an entrepreneur within an organization, press themselves and pressure themselves to be entrepreneurs just because it's popular, or external pressures, or I have no idea. They're honestly just not practicing self-awareness and what would be best for them and what would make them feel more fulfilled. This one exercise could actually answer a lot of these things for you. Pretend you had all the money in the world, $1 zillion, I don't care. You want to envision, what would you do from the time that you woke up to the time that you fell asleep just on a regular day. I have an example here. So you could say, I wake up at 6 and I don't wake up to an alarm clock. I wake up because the sun bleeds into the window or whatever. And I wake up to the views of the ocean. The ocean's right there, massive floor to ceiling windows. And it's like, okay, the first thing that I see here is that wake up close to the ocean, on the ocean. So it's like, if you live in the country or you live in the city, get close to the ocean, right? That's like the first misalignment. Or if you're waking up at 10 and in your ideal day, you're waking up at 6, that's also an alignment. So you can start to live that dream day today by just aligning yourself a little bit more to whatever it is that you write down. Like, I wake up feeling refreshed and rejuvenated. So if you're waking up and you're feeling like you're dragging and you're exhausted, then you're already misaligned from this day. I'm excited to work on my business. I'm excited to talk with my team, with my community, and to make progress on what we are working to build globally. So there would be a huge misalignment if you wake up and you're not excited, or if you wake up, I see people dreading to speak to their clients. And I'm like, what? Why would you build a business where you feel like that? I'm excited to talk to my team. So in this statement, I have a team. So if I don't have a team, that's a misalignment with my community. So I should have a big community. If I don't, I'm going to be misaligned. So you want to do this for yourself. The house is still quiet. I run in the morning with my dog. And because we live close to the ocean, I can see these awesome views, smell the salt or whatever. And it's not busy. There aren't a lot of cars on the road or a lot of people on the beach. It's a private spot. I get in a solid 30-minute run. My blood is pumping and I feel strong, and then I come back and breakfast is made for me. It's a light breakfast and with a coffee, eat breakfast on the porch with my family. And this is time where I'm talking to them, maybe listening to background podcasts. So I haven't even made it past breakfast yet. And if I sense anything that's misaligned from this, the whole point again of this exercise is to start living your perfect day ASAP, as close to it as you can, and don't deter from that, because that's what's going to probably lead you in the right direction to the life that you want to create. So the second question is, ask yourself, what are you currently doing that's keeping you from going in the right direction in this exercise? So again, if your first statement is, I wake up at 6, I don't wake up to an alarm. If you're waking up at 9 to an alarm clock, then you need to redirect. So you want to make a list of everything that you need to kind of align. Ask yourself, what is the first thing that you need to start doing to head in the right direction? What can you replace that with? You just want to start shifting things. Ask yourself, what boundaries do you need to set to spend less time with people who drain you and who do not align with the future that you envision for yourself? This is a big one. I remember people in the beginning when I was just even freelancing, even before I started posting on LinkedIn, when I started being a freelancer, trying to make it, right? They would call me to hang out. And before that, I would say yes all the time, even if I didn't feel like it. So stop saying yes to things that you really don't want to do. That's one of the first things that you can do as well. You have to start setting boundaries. If you don't want to meet up for coffee, if you don't want to go to this thing, if you don't want to hang out, say no. I don't feel like it right now. There's nothing wrong with that. Or no, I need to use this time to work on my business. That's what I started to say. And at first it was surprising for people. But again, if you don't say no, if you don't start to say no to things that drain you and deter you and mess up your focus from what you're trying to build now, then you're basically saying no to having the future that you want. So you don't have to be mean, but you do have to start doing these things and start authentically living to what you want to do and who you want to become over just pleasing a random person or just anyone that just calls you if they want to hang out. You can say no. Ask yourself, what type of people do you need to spend more time with or learn from? This is a great question. One caveat here is, how can you gain proximity to those people? How can you learn from them? How can you get closer to them? How can you invest more of your time with them? And you should really write down those answers as well. Here are some more practical ways for self-awareness as well. The most self-aware people, they actively seek out new experiences. So they're trying to always learn something new, or they go to new environments. And that's a big reason for that, because when you do new things, you learn a lot about yourself. When you do things that you've never done before, you learn about yourself and you get to know yourself more, increasing your self-awareness. You get to know your strengths more. You get to know your weaknesses more. You get to know the limits of what you can do or what you can't do or what you're amazing at or what you need to get better at or whatever. They actively seek out new experiences and they actively get out of their comfort zone. And yes, that's scary, especially because people are so afraid of uncertainty, but I'll take some uncertainty over miserable certainty. That's just me though. Make friends who match your future, not your past. This is a second thing. So you need to get around people who are more successful than you and who would align with that perfect day life that you went through before. Gain proximity to them. If they're part of a group, join the group. If they're leading a community, join the community. If they have some learning material, buy the learning material. You need to start investing in yourself as well. Spend 30 minutes every single day alone. No phone, no kids, just you, maybe a piece of paper. Maybe you're just sitting on the couch just thinking. That's super valuable because you'll get to do introspection and stuff and just maybe learn how to communicate your thoughts even to yourself a little bit better. And I don't think that people spend enough time with themselves. They're always filling time, maybe because they're bored or maybe because they're even afraid of that silence. The last thing is super important as well. So ask for constructive feedback. You should create like a personal board of directors where you create a feedback system with 3 to 5 appointed people. So 3 to 5 appointed people you have, and you have to create a formalized relationship where they give you feedback. And sometimes that feedback is constructive criticism. You need to have people, especially as you grow, where they're not always showering you with compliments and just yes, and you're amazing and all of that stuff. You need to have people in your corner that will tell you when you messed up, when you did something wrong, when you can do better. Real constructive feedback that maybe don't have the same views as you, don't have the same perspective on life as you, that will challenge your beliefs. And you should have these people in place. Don't create an echo chamber for yourself, especially as you grow. You don't want that. That will actually limit you. God bless you all and have a beautiful day. Ciao.